So when originally writing this article, the words of Molly Hatchet just couldn't stop rolling around my head. I'm traveling down the road and I'm flirting with disaster. And that can definitely sum up our relationship with these upcoming games, because each title featured here are causing us to exchange meaningful glances of worry. Some are here because they've hit so many pitfalls it'll be a miracle if they come out at all. Some are here because they simply can't afford to fail, and some are here, well, just because they look plain awful. So let's take a look at these with a bit of apprehension and a whole bucket of worry. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 9 upcoming 2023 video games we're really worried about. Number 9, The Day Before. Well, we'll give this to The Day Before. We've never seen a game go from being heralded to ridiculed quite so fast. The Day Before was, at one point, the most wish-listed game on Steam, which is no small feat considering it was yet another entry in the already overstuffed zombie survival genre. Unfortunately, a series of calamitous screw-ups has completely derailed TBD's once juggernaut-like momentum. The lesser bungle was the disappointing gameplay trailer, which showed 10 minutes of roadside exploration and very little else. And by very little else, we mean anything that suggested the footage was actually taken from the game. Still, what else can you expect from a game at least partly made by unpaid volunteers? Oh yeah, and that little tidbit leaking out was screw-up number 2. But the biggest red flag, however, was when the publisher pulled the game from Steam. After initially blaming Steam itself for the game's removal, the devs sheepishly revealed the real reason behind the game's disappearance. They were embroiled in a trademark dispute with a Korean calendar app that shared the same name. Seriously, you cannot make this up. Number 8, AEW Fight Forever. Now, it's been a rough few months for AEW fans, if we're being honest, and they could definitely use a bit of the old digital bubbly to take their minds off of the company's current woes. Unfortunately, AEW Fight Forever appears to have inherited its namesake's tendency for backstage BS to overshadow the in-ring action. Now, as detailed by WhatCulture Wrestling scribe Jamie Kennedy, Fight Forever's development has been far from smooth. What with the delays, the overspending, and the fact that one of its cover stars flat out told gamers to water down their expectations, Fight Forever hasn't exactly done much to instill confidence. The game's biggest problem, however, is one of timing. AEW should have struck while the iron was hot and released it back in 2021, when WWE 2K took a year off to recover from the disaster that was WWE 2K20. Now, Fight Forever is going up against a revitalized series that's come back strong with WWE 2K22 and looks set to continue its upward momentum with the soon-to-be-released WWE 2K23. Honestly, the best thing Fight Forever's developers could have done is delay the game until a few months after 2K23's launch, because if the two go head-to-head, then AEW's game will have as much chance as a jobber in a squash match. Number 7, Crime Boss Rocky City. Every once in a while, a game comes along that looks so perversely mediocre that you can already see the 5 out of 10 reviews forming in your head, where it basically just reads, Game X is solid but unremarkable example of genre Y, or fine if you like this sort of thing, or bland but inoffensive. Enter Crime Boss Rocky City, a game its publishers have so little faith in that they're offering a 20% pre-order discount off its already cheap £35 asking price, and having seen the game's previews, that kind of seems about right. A riff on the Payday games, which is organising heists with a group of other players that inevitably culminate in the gunning down of dozens of police officers, Rocky City is seemingly handicapped by bland gunplay and woeful dialogue delivered by the game's star-studded cast. Honestly though, that cast, a list of 80s or early 90s icons like Kim Basinger, Danny Glover and Vanilla Ice, seems to be the game's entire driving force. It feels like everybody involved in this production wanted to hang out with their childhood heroes, and they all clubbed together to make a game that justified bringing in everybody's favourite stars. In which case, allow us to retort in the spirit of the era Rocky City takes pains to evoke. That sounds like a great way to make a game. Not. Number 6, Marvel's Midnight Suns Switch Edition. Oh, Midnight Suns, we hardly knew ye. 2K Games' tactical spin on the Marvel universe was one of 2022's most pleasant surprises. Marrying a rich, rewarding card-based tactics game to a Persona-like social progression system, Midnight Suns was a qualified triumph. And we say qualified because unfortunately it was also host to a raft of technical issues at launch. We imagine many a PC gamer made use of Steam's 2-hour refund policy after encountering Midnight Suns' myriad glitches, and the end result was that the game sold poorly. As such, it's unlikely that 2K will opt to throw good money after bad with the still penciled-in Switch port, and will instead quietly cancel it sometime this year. And that is a damn shame, as Midnight Suns' turn-based battles are perfect for on-the-go gaming, and its social systems are perfectly suited for short play sessions. Who wouldn't want to work out with Captain America on the bus, or talk shop with Spider-Man between classes? Sadly, it looks like Midnight Suns is destined to share the same fate that befell 2020's Guardians of the Galaxy, a legitimately great licensed game that never really gets the audience that it deserves. Number 5, Assassin's Creed Mirage. Don't get us wrong, we are looking forward to Mirage, but we can't help but worry what will happen if it fails. Now, you see, gamers have spent years crying out for an Assassin's Creed game whose playtime is measured in tens of hours rather than the hundreds, and Mirage seems to be the answer to their prayers. Ubisoft has said Mirage will be on a much smaller scale than the overstuffed Odyssey and Valhalla, meaning that we can actually look forward to seeing the end credits of an Assassin's Creed game for the first time since, I don't know, like 2015 Syndicate. However, we can't help but worry whether this smaller, more intimate setting will be appreciated by fans of the newer, more RPG-heavy Creeds. If they drop out and Mirage bombs at retail, then Ubisoft are unlikely to return to smaller scale Creeds in the future, thus marking the end of time-strapped gamers' relationship with this franchise. Well, if Mirage does indeed turn out to be our one last job as an assassin, at least we'll always have Paris, right? And Jerusalem, and Rome, and Constantinople, and London for that matter. Number 4. Lollipop Chainsaw Remake. The original Lollipop Chainsaw came out in 2012 and proceeded to set the world on fire about as well as an ill-equipped arsonist in a concrete fire station. It came, it went, and by 2013 it had largely been forgotten. As such, you'll forgive us for being puzzled when the devs announced their intentions to remake it for 2023. Lollipop Chainsaw was neither a sales juggernaut nor a critical darling. It was one of the many hack-and-slash games that littered the PS3 and Xbox 360 era of gaming and had little to recommend it aside from its inspired use of licensed music. Licensed music that, crucially, will not be making an appearance in this remake, as the new devs failed to secure the rights for any of it. Not only that, but the devs have outright stated that the game will be closer to a remaster than a full-on remake, thus killing any hopes of them improving the rather basic gameplay of the original. Given all of that, you can understand why Suda51, the man behind the original Lollipop Chainsaw, has publicly stated that he has nothing to do with the upcoming remake. A slightly prettier version of a mediocre game that's had some of its best features forcibly removed? Well, you can't exactly blame him for not wanting that on his CV, can you? Number 3. The Lords of the Fallen. Where Lollipop Chainsaw is a remake of a game that nobody remembers, The Lords of the Fallen is a sequel to a game that just nobody cares about. Okay, maybe that's a bit harsh, but can anyone really say that 2014's Lords of the Fallen was their game of the year? Hell, it wasn't even the best action game of the month it came out, because that would have gone to the sublime Bayonetta 2. The original Lords of the Fallen was a mediocre Soulsborne that failed to stand out from the pack and was swiftly washed away by the tides of history. 8 years late, its sequel is poised to resurface, having learnt very little from its predecessor's fate. The best Soulsborne alternatives tend to offer something different to From Software's offerings, like the Surge 2's mechanical dystopia, or Neo's supernatural take on medieval Japan. The Lords of the Fallen's decision, however, is to stick with dark fantasy, after From Software have spent over a decade making that genre their own, and it just reeks of hubris from its developers. Put simply, releasing a grimdark fantasy Souls-like when Dark Souls ruled the roost was laughable, and doing the same thing now where Elden Ring strides the narrow genre like a colossus, well, it's like shooting yourself in the foot. Number 2. Redfall. Honestly, what worries us the most about Redfall isn't actually the game itself. What we've seen of the title actually looks pretty passable, and a kind of entertaining riff off the Left 4 Dead formula, and one that ought to provide a few weeks of amusement before we gravitate back to Valve's timeless masterpiece. But our worries are over what Redfall represents. Put simply, we're getting a bit fed up of publishers taking developers with proven track records in single-player games and throwing them into the pit of wolves that is always online gaming. This obsession with catering to the multiplayer live service crowd, well, it wrecked Anthem, it destroyed Marvel's Avengers, and it absolutely was the cause of all the problems in the next entry on this list, which we'll come to soon. It's making us feel weary seeing developers flagrantly attempting to create the next Destiny. Destiny only works because it's made by the best FPS combat designers in gaming, and even then they made mistakes from time to time. You'd think that seeing colossal duds like Babylon's Fall and the aforementioned Marvel's Avengers would stem the tide of live service effluence, but it seems like it will be a while yet before that stream mercifully dries up. And on that note, number 1, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Towards the tail end of last year, WhatCulture had this to say about the Suicide Squad, which is, unless Rocksteady have undergone a severe talent enema in the intervening years, we're confident that Suicide Squad will be further proof of their reputation as superhero savants. And after watching the game's 16-minute showcase in Sony's latest state of play, well, it's clear that somebody at Rocksteady set the hose at full blast and forgot to turn the bloody thing off. Suicide Squad looks awful, a cheap, cynical, lifeless cash-in that strips all potential from the concept in favor of regurgitating the same tired live service tropes that doomed Marvel's Avengers. Could whoever's whispering into game publishers' ears that tedious inventory management and floaty combat are key components of the superhero fantasy just please bloody stop? Suicide Squad looks like an ugly, mismanaged mess of a game that openly bears the scars of its torturous development, and it's already the frontrunner for the biggest disappointment of 2023. Are there any positives? Well, we'll save this for Rocksteady. Given that the Suicide Squad's entire shtick is being sent out to die, we respect the developer's commitment to the source material by releasing a game so obviously destined to go down in flames. And there we go, my friends. Those were 9 upcoming 2023 video games we're really worried about. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Instagram, where it's @RetroJ, but the O is a 0. Hope to see you over there, my friends. And you can come check out all of the Warhammer miniatures that I've been painting. Yes, I I am a nerd. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Hope you're treating yourself well with love and respect, my friend, because you deserve all the best things in life, alright? And do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise. You are a massive ledge and you deserve the bloody best. And to also probably not play any of these games on these lists, that'll probably help a little bit. Now go out there and absolutely smash it today, my friend. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye.